Hey guys, it's Kevin Villeneuve from Blipmatch. I've got the prototype of Netherwatch set up on the table in front of me. I just thought I would take a quick few moments to give you guys a look at all the components. So I'm not going to go into rules today, but I thought it would be cool to show you guys exactly what everything does on the board. And if you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. I can definitely do a playthrough video of this game. Right now, just to be clear, this is a prototype copy of the game, so a lot of this stuff is going to change before the final product is out, but right now it is accepting late pledges, and you can find the link in the description on Gamefound. It's by Mariucci J Designs, who are the makers of Explore It. And this is their first time going out into another type of game outside of that universe. So I'm really excited. I just actually completed my review. So if you haven't watched that and you're interested, it's down in the description as well. But now let's get started. I'm going to give you guys a quick look at the components. So looking at the game, this is basically what your board is going to look like. So it's not too bad of a table hog. It's a little bit wide, but depends how many players you have. But right now, like I've only got this set up for one player. So I've got my character over here. These two pieces are always going to be there, as well as these four. Because the way it is that it is when you're at least playing the mansion version. Now there is another version that's called the Loyal Vigil. It's an expansion, which is essentially like a board that builds itself as you're playing the game, so which is really, really cool. But I'll get into that in another video. But for this one, we're going to focus on the mansion. And the mansion here has four distinct sections. So you've got the first floor, the second floor, the attic, and the basement. But the cool part is that each of these, I didn't put anything on this one so I could show you guys, but basically you can flip this over and each of them has a side B and a side A. You'll notice here, this one here has some updated art, this one doesn't, but it's my understanding that eventually all of them will have the art when the final product comes out. But so far it looks pretty cool. Like this one's filled in. You can see that the kitchen, utility room, the garage, there's all kinds of neat stuff that as far as the artwork is concerned. And what they did is that they made it so that each scenario calls for a different side, a different floor. So one might be all A, one might be all B, or in this case, this one here, which is Old Man Dyer's, has B, A, B, A, and it tells you in the setup instructions. So here's a view of the setup card for this scenario. So this is Old Man Dyer's, and it is yellow, meaning that it's a containment scenario. So that would be intermediate. There's also green ones, which are recon, and those are a little bit easier, so a little less rules going on, a little less things going on as far as the scenario is concerned. The rules is actually a whole different thing. There is actually a green, yellow, and red difficulty for the rules, but that'll be for another video. This one I'll just stick on the components. But basically, yeah, and then there's also red, which is extermination. Those are more difficult, a lot more moving parts. But this sheet here, I'm actually going to try to focus in on here, just see if I can get you guys a better view. There we go. So this will give you the instructions as far as what you do for the setup. So here, like I was talking about, you have B, A, B, A. So it tells you which side each floor should be on, where you're going to place rifts, cover tokens, and all the different cubes, as well as what items start on the ground, and then which areas are locked and need to be opened. So there's sometimes conditions for those things as well. And then you actually get a nice map here at the bottom where you have the different cubes and the different stuff where it's placed. So it actually makes setup very, very easy, I find. And on the other side of the card, then you have all your scenario rules, the operation rules, the fate effects, all that stuff. This is where someone has to basically track this throughout the game and make sure that stuff is being done as certain events, certain interactions are triggered, but at least it keeps everything all in one place. And then you have the different cards. So in this case for the mansion, there's 6 different ones. Now, when it comes to the tokens that are on the board, you're going to see that there are different colored ones. So these I know are going to change into cubes, I believe. They're just little gems right now in the prototype. But you have the orange ones, which are considered scavenged items. So this is basically old items. It can be things that are really cool or things that are like here in this example, you got a kitchen knife, right? So this is what's there. So that can be a scavenged item that you can find on the ground. It can be stuff like, I don't know, yeah, see this Wraith Rest energy drink, that is also a scavenged item. And those are things that essentially you find on the ground inside. There's even cool stuff like this old camcorder, right? So really stuff that's very thematic to the horror game. So then you got your interaction tokens, these kind of like red ones, and those correspond to these interaction things that are listed on the back. They're actually called zone interactions. And so when you trigger one of these tokens with an action, you will be able to do what it says on here based on the room you're in. And they got it separated by floors, so it's pretty easy to find which one is which. Then you've got these things here that are blue, so these are called cover tokens. The easy scenarios sometimes may have them already revealed, but in this case is an intermediate, so they're not. When you get into those rooms and you end your movement there, you'll usually get to flip it over. You'll either get an eye like this, which means that you can't hide there, you're exposed, or you might get one that has a closed eye here, and that means that you can safely hide from the demon there. And these are very important because you need to hide sometimes when the demon manifests itself, and this is a way that you can make that go away and go dormant. Now this token here, these are numbered 1 to 8, and these are rifts. You don't always use all 8 of them in a scenario, but they are bad because they are where the demon will spawn. Then, during the confrontation phase, you're probably going to have to summon a demon near one of these, so you're not going to be able to actually totally get away from them. But essentially, when you're investigating, you want to stay as far away from those. Then you've got these ones here, which are essentially items on the ground. So these correspond, if you look here, you've got 1, 2, 3. These correspond to these slots down here, and this is the dropped items. So items can be dropped on the ground by characters or by events, and they will accumulate in each zone. So in this case, number 1, you could drop 10 items in here and that would be fine. They would all accumulate there. And if another character went there, they could actually go and draw those cards from the ground. Now, the problem is that eventually you fill up all 4 slots. And then if you want to have a 5th slot, you need to trash all the items in one of the other slots in order to swap that token out. So that can be a little tricky, but it's fun because it kind of makes you have to hoard things like a squirrel and put them in different places of the house. Then you've got these other tokens, which are yellow, black, and blue. And those don't correspond to any items or any interactions, but they do have effects because black basically means there's an unnatural darkness in the room. Yellow means that you have a light on in the room. And then blue means that it's an unnatural cold. So these will pop up depending on the type of demon, depending on the type of events. The one that actually doesn't do you much harm is the yellow one because it's for the lights. And here you can see the little light bulbs, and the light, if there's a light bulb in an area, it means that it is essentially a place where there is a electrical source, and you would place the light here. But if there was unnatural darkness, you would also place that here because the two of them essentially cancel each other out. Now, on some places, like if you see here the crawl space, there is no light bulb. Neither is there in the dugout over here. Those places mean that they don't have an electrical source, which means that yes, you can still light the area, but you have to do it by using an item or something else. You can't just go into the room and flick the lights on as a free action. Then you've got keys like this one here, where this means that that area is locked. So in this case, it's over the basement, which means that the door to the basement is locked. Now, there are sometimes ways in the scenarios to open those, and if not, you can find an old key in the scavenged item deck, and that will do the trick. So then you've got these tokens here called clues, and these clues will be in rooms. Like, for example, here there's an interaction token. When you start the game, all of these rooms should have a clue in them, and the demon will also leave some when it manifests itself and then goes away. So it leaves kind of like traces. You have to go into these rooms and you have to reveal these clues just like you would have revealed the cover tokens, and then you have to interact with them by using certain items. So for example, this one here is has that little triangle with the eye, and it has another eye underneath. That means it's for 2 different types of items, whereas if you look, this one here has the same triangle, but it's got the horns, and that is for another type of item. So for these eyes, you could go in here with the occult talisman, and you would do the corresponding puzzle. That is another module that you basically take out and you use in order to try to determine which trait a demon has. Then you've got the standees. So each character has their own standee. This one's a bit hard to see because it's a purple one, but you can see it a little better here. And that is where your character is in the location, and the locations are generally separated by these walls. You can kind of see how stuff is separated. So this would be a room here, 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 and here. Same thing with here, right in between all that. And then the staircases, as long as you're in the room with the staircase, you can go to the next room up or down from there. So you wouldn't be able to jump from here to there, but you'd be able to go from here to there or there to the basement and so on. The demon, when it's unidentified, has this standee right here, but then once you identify it, it has its own standee. That would be, when the confrontation phase happens, and it will have its own picture on it, so you'll be able to see exactly what it is. Now, moving over here, you've got the headquarters board, which also houses the fate deck. So headquarters, that is actually a playable space. So if your character is near one of these exits, so in this case for the mansion, you can exit, you see a little HQ truck here, you can exit from the foyer or from the garage. Now the garage is locked in this scenario, so you have to unlock it first. But essentially, if you're in the foyer, you could go to the headquarters. And from there, you can actually recover. You can get some new items here from the HQ deck or the essential items. So it's a place to kind of go and rest and recover. So it's kind of like a cool little safe haven. Now, here is the fate deck. So this is really important because the fate cards, so you start essentially with all the cards here, and you will take this card out and you're going to put it into a sleeve. And this sleeve goes like this. Put it in, and then you're going to flip it over, and you're going to read either the dormant side if the demon is dormant, or the manifested side if it is already manifested. Now, in this case, there's a number here, and this is a blue card, which means it's an initial card. So the initial cards, they're all part of a little group, and they're essentially a no danger card. So the lower difficulty levels will have these cards at the top of the deck when you start. So you have a sense of safety. But then once you get down to the red cards, so in this case it's a yellow scenario, so there's 3 cards, 3 blue cards, then you get into the red cards. And the red cards, that's the cool part, is they're mixed in with cards that are actually from the demon's deck. So while some of them say a number here with 100, some of them will have a number with 400, 500, that means that they're part of your demon's deck. But you're not going to know that because you're using this sleeve. So you're going to, as you put it in, it blocks that number, as you can see. So you won't know if it's one of the demon's cards, which can give you clues, or if it's a generic one. Now this here will trigger what's called the fate number. So when it's here, it doesn't matter. But at the minute that you read this card, you do the event, whatever, and then you put it down here, that becomes the active fate for the turn. So when you begin, it's always 1 because that's what's on the placard. But then as you discard cards, the fate will change. Fate can affect a lot of stuff, including what happens on other event cards, or it can be on items like this camcorder. See, 1 to 2 is certain things. I'll put it here so you guys can see it. But 1 to 2 is certain things happen. 4 to 5 certain things happen. So if you were on 3, then nothing different would happen. So that's kind of how those work. Then you move over here, you've got your essential items, which these are items that anybody can get at any time, as long as you're in a place where you can get them, like the headquarters. But they're really a item where if you throw one out, you just throw it back in the deck because you can always get more. HQ items, though, are different because once you use those, they get discarded and then you can't get them again unless you have a special item or ability that lets you look through the discard pile. Same thing with the scavenged items, they live here as well. And then we already touched on the dropped items earlier. Finally, you've got your character card. So I'm going to take a few items off of it here so you guys can see a little bit more. But here's basically, put it into focus here. So this is, for example, the Oculus. Actually, that one's kind of like dark. There we go. Look at this one. It's the one a little lighter. So there's a skeptic on this side. So in this case, you've got double-sided. But the skeptic here, as an example, you can see it's got a level of sanity. So sanity, that is how much you have until you're in breakdown. And when it gets there, that's a bad thing because then the demon can do certain things to you, like kill you, that it wouldn't be able to do otherwise depending on your game difficulty. And it also makes other actions very difficult. So that's something you got to track. Certain characters have 8 or 9. In this case, the skeptic only has 7. You got this slot here, which is where you would keep your lit base. So when your flashlight is off, your lit base is here. When your flashlight is on, it's actually on your character. Then you've got your actions. So when the demon is dormant, you've got 3 actions that you can do. Some things cost maybe 2 points. So they're really more action points. But generally, for the most part, each action is 1 point. And then when the demon is manifested, you get less. Now here's another example, the professional. So you can see more sanity for this character. Everything else is generally the same. Everybody always has the same actions as far as the points that they can use each turn. But your passive ability and your unique ability are always going to be different from character to character. So that's what sets them all apart. Passive abilities can be used at any time based on what it says, but the unique abilities can only be used once, and then once it's spent, you can't use it again unless you find a way to recharge it, like using this card here, which is the Vita Stone, and that will let you actually recharge your unique ability. So there are a couple of things you can do, but they're pretty rare. Then you've got your different pockets. So you've got your pocket 1, pocket 2, pocket 3. So pocket 3 is only used if you're playing solo, true solo, or with 2 characters. And if not, you're using, so if it's 3 or 4 players, you're using only 2 pockets, which limits the amount of items you can have. Then you've got your left hand and your right hand. Now, the cool thing is that each item is different based on their size or what they do. So for example, if I were to use this here, which is the camcorder, I can see that the gems here on each side, they're on the edges. So that means that they can only be used on hands. They can't be put in a pocket. But if I were to use, let's say, the rich energy drink here, I should be using my green screen. I got it for that reason. You can see there's a gem on the bottom. That means that you can actually put it in one of your pocket slots, which is the ones down here. So essentially limits the amount of items you can have on you at any time. And it limits which ones you can have because certain ones you won't be able to grab if your hands are full. Then this one here is worth showing. So this is the Demon Artifact. So this is a card that will not necessarily be, creepy, I know. This is not necessarily a card that's going to be on the board right away, but it is a little token, and it's called the Demon Artifact token here. I got to find it. Of course, oh, here it is. I got it. Okay. So I've got the item. I'm going to show you guys here. So this is basically the item right here. It's the Demon Artifact token, and it will be somewhere in the house based on certain conditions. So it might be up here, in which case then when you get there, if you have the conditions to pick it up, you can then get the item, and it's a random artifact. You never know what it's going to be. They generally tend to be really good and really bad at the same time because they put the target on your back, which means the demon will focus on you. So pretty interesting stuff. Now, I was just about to close out this video and I realized, I didn't show you guys the dice. So these are the dice that come with the game. So they will obviously be different once they are in final production. This is just the prototype ones. But the color scheme, so you got green, yellow, and you've got red. And essentially, based on your game difficulty, so not the scenario, because remember, you got scenario difficulty, and you got game difficulty, which both have to be picked at the beginning of the game. So if your game difficulty is green, which is the easiest initiate, you'll get this die for the game, and that's what you roll to determine if you're going to get any sanity loss during a action or some sort of event or whatever it is. So in this case, the green die only has dots and blanks, which means you can only get a single sanity loss on a roll. But as you get up in rank, so in this case, if you go in for operative difficulty, then there is actually a double on here. So that means you can lose 2 in one shot. And the extremely difficult one, which is for veteran difficulty, it has actually 2 doubles on it, as well as only 1 blank. So that gets really, really tough. So that can actually make a big difference when you're playing. So that's something to consider when you're picking your game difficulty. Because if you have a red scenario, which is already tough to begin with all the stuff that's going on, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to go with veteran difficulty, oh man, that is difficult. So that just about covers all the different components. So I hope that gives you a good overview of the components without getting too deep into the rules of the game. If you guys want to see a playthrough, I can definitely do one. Just let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. And I will also be doing a review of Loyal Vigil, which I think is an awesome expansion. Definitely worth considering if you've already pledged but you haven't gotten that item. It is really fun, and I will get more into details in those videos. But for now, that's it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.